Hello! If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I have recently returned from holiday in Edinburgh, and while I was there I did indeed buy a few books, 7 in fact, probably more than I anticipated, but c'est la vie, and I thought that I would show you. I did post them on Instagram as well, so you may well have already seen these, but I thought I would show you them properly and tell you the synopses, where they're not sequels, and so on. So I went to several bookshops, but I only bought books from 3, and the first bookshop that I bought books from was Argonaut Books, which is in Leith, and from there I bought 2 books, neither of which I had heard of before, although the first of them I probably should have heard of because it's classic sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian kind of thing, and it's The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. This is the cover that I have got, and apparently there's a film of this as well, which Lee, my partner, has actually seen. I haven't, I had never heard of it, so when I picked it up and read the synopsis I was intrigued, so I'll read it to you. When a day that you happen to know is Wednesday starts off by sounding like Sunday, there is something seriously wrong somewhere. When a freak cosmic event renders most of the Earth's population blind, Bill Masson, one of the lucky few to keep his sight, finds himself trapped in a London jammed with sightless mobs who prey on those who can still see. But another menace stalks blind and sighted alike. With nobody to stop them, the Triffids, walking carnivorous plants with lethal stingers, rise up as humanity stumbles and falls, which just sounds fun for me, not so much for the characters I suppose, but I don't know, I just was drawn to this for some reason, and it's not especially long either. The other book that I picked up in Argonaut Books was Scattered All Over the Earth by Yoko Tawada, and this is what it looks like, and I'll read you the synopsis for this one as well. So, Japan has vanished and Hiruko thinks she might be the last Japanese person left. Travelling across Europe with a group of newfound friends, a linguist, a student moving between genders, a Greenlander hiding his nationality, and his broken-hearted lover, she pursues a mysterious man named Susanoo, who may be her last chance to once again hear the sounds of her native tongue. And it is a translation, so it's been translated from the Japanese by Margaret Mitsutani, and this just sounds, I don't know, I was just drawn to it, and I don't really know why in particular. It just sounded good, so I picked it up because I had never heard of it before, and I sometimes like picking up books that I have not heard anything about. Then the second bookshop that I bought books from in Edinburgh was Topping & Co, which is on Princes Street but sort of up in the kind of north east side of Princes Street, and they had tons of books in there, and it was a really nice kind of windy shop with ladders and everything, which I absolutely loved, and they had a huge selection of sci-fi and fantasy books, which was really nice. A lot of their stuff was non-fiction, but they did have a really nice section of SFF. I did persuade somebody to buy a copy of House in the Cerulean Sea, which was quite fun, and I also picked up a couple of books myself. They had quite a lot of books in there that were signed first editions, so I decided to get a couple of those, and these were books that I had either been considering buying or planning on buying anyway. The first one is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. I was going to get the Fairyloot edition of this, but I didn't buy it in time, and they'd sold out by the time I managed to log on and try to purchase it, so I decided to get this one since I saw it. It's a signed edition. It's the same colour, unfortunately, as my copy of the Atlas 6, because I got the Fairyloot edition of that one, which means that they're both now this kind of creamy colour, but I don't mind that too much. And the funny thing about Topping & Co is that all of their hardbacks were wrapped in plastic like this, so I don't know, I might I might leave this on there, or I might not. I haven't quite decided yet, but I was glad to pick up a copy of The Atlas Paradox. I'm not going to read you the synopsis of this one though, because of course it is a sequel to the Atlas 6, which I read earlier this year. But that book follows 6 characters who are competing for 5 places in the Alexandrian Society, is in the Library of Alexandria. And this is the second book. This is going to be a trilogy. I think the third book will be out next year, and I am hoping to read this relatively soonish. And the other book I had been considering buying, but it was also on a little bit of a whim, because although this is a hardback, it's not a new release, it's actually a re-release of a book that's been out for quite a long time, and I wasn't necessarily 100% sold on reading it, but I don't know, I've just been drawn to it recently, so I decided to pick it up whilst I was there and whilst they had a signed first edition copy, and that is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. So as I say, this is a re-release of a book that he originally published in 2019. But only in the US, I think. First published in the UK this year in this particular edition, and I think from what I've heard it's a very different vibe to The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door, but I do just like TJ Klune's writing, so I figured I would give this a go, and I will read you this synopsis. So, when I dreamed of him. Ox Matheson was 12 when his father taught him a lesson. Ox wasn't worth anything and people would never understand him. Then he left. Ox was 16 when the energetic Bennett family moved in next door, harbouring a secret that would change him forever. For the family are shapeshifters who can transform into wolves at will. Drawn to their magic, loyalty and enduring friendships, Ox feels a gulf between this extraordinary new world and the quiet life he's known. He also finds an ally in Joe, the youngest Bennett boy. Joe is charming and handsome, but haunted by scars he cannot heal. Ox was 23 when murder came to town and tore a hole through his heart. Violence flared, tragedy split the pack, and Joe left town, leaving Ox behind. 3 years later, the boy is back, except now he's a man, and Ox can no longer ignore the song that howls between them. So it is, you know, it's a queer romance, but also paranormal fantasy, because, you know, shapeshifters, werewolves basically. And I don't know, I've just been drawn to this one, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. And then finally I went into Blackwell's, which is not a Edinburgh only shop, it is a chain, but they had a 3 for 2 deal in there, so what are you gonna do? The first one that I picked up I actually have already read. I read it on the train back from Edinburgh. Well, we made a stop along the way, so I read it on the first leg of the journey, and that is The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa, which looks like this. I've been drawn to this book for quite a while. I keep seeing it in the shops and decided to just pick it up, and it was translated by Louise Heel Kawai, and this follows, what's the character's name? Again, Rintaro, who, at the beginning of the story, his grandfather has passed away, and his grandfather ran a bookshop called Natsuki Books, and so Rintaro loves books, loves reading, and is kind of sad to be leaving the shop. And then all of a sudden, a talking cat shows up and tells Rintaro that he needs his help to save books, and so they go on several adventures together to do just that, to save books. And it's very short. As I said, I read it on a 2-hour train journey, so it didn't take me very long at all, but it was very cute and it was just a fun little fantasy story that I could read nice and quickly, and I enjoyed myself. The next one that I picked up was Anatomy, a love story by Dana Schwartz. This is one that I've had my eye on all year, and I've been really keen to pick it up, and it felt like the right time. It was in the 3 for 2 deal. It is actually based in Edinburgh. I was in Edinburgh at the time. I've been wanting to read it and buy it anyway. I'd been waiting for the paperback to come out before purchasing it. this is the paperback, so everything just seemed to come together for me with this one. The synopsis on this one reads, Edinburgh 1817, a gothic tale full of mystery and romance. Hazel Sinnett is a lady who wants to be a surgeon more than she wants to marry. Jack Currer is a resurrection man who's just trying to survive in a city where it's too easy to die. Despite being thrown out of Dr. Beecham's lectures, Hazel is determined not to compromise on her ambitions, but without official lessons, Hazel will need more than just her books. She'll need corpses to study. Lucky that she's just made the acquaintance of someone who digs them up for a living. Unfortunately, Jack has his own problems. Dangerous men are skulking around the cemeteries, his friends are disappearing off the streets, and the city slums are plagued with a mysterious illness. Nobody seems to care until Hazel. With so much on the line, Hazel and Jack must work together to uncover the secrets buried beyond the unmarked graves in the very heart of Edinburgh society. And it just sounds really great, and I can't wait to read it. And then finally, the very last book that I picked up whilst in Edinburgh was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I recently picked up the audiobook of this in an Audible sale, and so I thought, let me pick up the physical copy as well so that I can immersion read. You have probably heard of this one before, but I will read you the synopsis anyway. A lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and the Earth itself will perish. But right now he doesn't know that. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just woken to find himself hurtling through space millions of miles from home. It's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery, and he's got to do it alone. Or does he? And I have personally been recommended this by a couple of people, and they've said that they think that I'm really going to love it. So I'm definitely intrigued as to why. They say there's a trope in this that I'm going to really enjoy. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm not a huge fan of this cover, but you know, you can't argue with 3 for 2. And that's it. Those are the 7 books that I picked up whilst I was in Edinburgh. I had a lovely trip there. It was very nice. Lee and I enjoyed the city very much. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks.